This is Primal Projects episode 3. Today, talking about balance.
Yeah. Just moved into this house here.
Cool. What's your new address?
Hey, block that out. Super close to this peak right here. It's called Bear Mountain Peak. So we're going up it today.
So I get to talk to a lot of people who follow StrengthSide. And one of the main things they really like about the channel is that we do a lot of training, a lot of information, and yet a lot of what we do and we show on the Instagram or even on the YouTube sometimes is a lot of cool stuff that we do, a lot of going out, messing around, having fun. And so what a lot of people like is that there seems to be some sort of fun balance there. We're not only about training and we're not only about doing the fun stuff. How do you guys find that in your lives?
Hard. Find it hard. No, I think balance is it's the key to any aspect of life, I think. For me personally, I think finding that balance of training hard, trying to get better, trying to get stronger, develop more skills, more range of motion, things like this. But then you can get too caught up in that. And then, you got to pull yourself back to what is all of this for? It's for enjoying my life and having fun and being able to do stuff on my own and with friends and stuff. So I think constantly having that conversation with yourself of if you're sliding too much to one end of the spectrum, and possibly pulling yourself back if you think that would benefit you more.
Here's the thing about walking barefoot. It slows you down. When you're on a hill, that's pretty nice.
I think that the key part is always having that reflection of where you're at on that spectrum and making a conscious decision of what you want to be doing with your time right now. Where's the most value with your time right now and your energy and your resources? Because I think oftentimes if you're not paying attention, you'll really skew one way and then start almost resenting that thing, right? Especially if it's the more training side, the more put your nose to the grindstone and working really hard. I know I've been there where I've been training really hard, and then you get to a point where you're just man, this isn't fun anymore. I don't know why I'm doing this. It actually is becoming potentially negative in my life. And all I need to do is go out for a hike.
Looks like more up.
All up, man.
Should've brought my up shoes.
That's what I was gonna say. Even if it doesn't come to a point where it's negative for you, let's say you just love training and you develop all these cool skills and you get super strong, but then you look up and it's been 4 years since you've been on a hike or played soccer with your friends in the park or something like that, and it's okay, I've been grinding so hard, but my experience was I got to a point where it doesn't matter that much though. What matters is this right now, being able to hike up a mountain and have a coffee with your friends and chill out a bit.
Yeah, and I think for everyone there's just these different seasons that you'll find in your own experience. For me, I definitely had to spend a lot of time at certain points just doing flexibility stuff because I was getting so much out of it. There's times where I don't know, it's your body responds well to certain things. Maybe that's training focused, and you're just kind of all right, I'm gonna eat this up. But then there's times where maybe with the using all of this, getting outside or having fun with your friends, there's times when you need that as in your being, you're gonna respond really well to that. So I think just honoring the seasons.
Yeah. I think if you keep going back to the same well, it'll dry up. And so I think that sometimes we get so focused on that one thing that gave us something, we think if we keep going back to it, it's going to keep giving, right? And so for flexibility for you, I'm sure it's been very cyclical because of that. You've dipped into it, you've gotten a lot, but then you almost run into walls. It's almost what you need is to just go out and use your body again. Like,
and it's fun.
Yeah.
Like a hike like this, like with really high step ups, wouldn't have been that fun for me. But now it's like, I wouldn't say it's easy, but the movements are easy, so it's enjoyable.
Oh boy. A little shaky for a second there.
I was just going to whip my boots up and do it bare feet as well. It's ironic that you've got Converse shirt hanging on your feet. I like the irony.
I think for a lot of people, like, there are some that need to just go and train more, and like you were saying, Mitch, like just become more flexible so you can do some things. But for a lot of people, like, we train too much and we need to play and explore more. And I like to think of, like, what is the origins of, like, strength and conditioning? Well, is originally to, like, make you better at your sport. So say you're a track athlete or you're a basketball player, like, your main thing is playing the game or competing, but then you go in the gym and you become stronger, and that helps you do your thing, right? So, like, I like to keep that in mind of, like, am I just, like, training over and over again for nothing? Or am I, you know, using that training to go do something?
Anyway. Okay.
That was pretty lame.
Enough of that, Hey Mitch, slurp down a ween? Kind of ween. Have you seen the Impractical Jokers skit when Sal's working at a hot dog stand and this girl comes up to order a Coke and they tell him to say, slurp down a ween, perhaps?
Or they make a hot dog milkshake.
Yeah. I had to put my shoes on. I apologize to all the barefooters out there.
Do you accept his apology? Comment below.
When I do something that's fun, that, like, I get a lot of joy out of, which is kind of like my purpose for all of the training. But, like, I want to see that I can do a little bit more than I could because of my training. And if it's not that way, then I'm not sure it's the training is serving me, right? So for example, if I'm with jiu-jitsu, if getting more flexible, like working on flexibility, is making my jiu-jitsu better, therefore I have more fun doing jiu-jitsu, then, like, that's a feedback loop that I want to keep going.
Yeah.
But if at some point I'm spending so much time on my flexibility and it's not paying out in jiu-jitsu, then I'm just taking time away from jiu-jitsu that I could just be enjoying and getting better at the thing anyways. You know what I mean?
Wait, do that again. I need to be standing up better. Just kidding.
Wow. So valiant.
It's easy.
Yeah, like, that's when you find, like, oh, I've just been obsessed with getting this middle splits, and, like, I've been putting my whole identity in, like, the middle splits, but, like, what does the middle splits do for you? It doesn't give you much, whereas, like, jiu-jitsu, that gives you a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's really important to keep in mind. And I don't know, like, this seems irrelevant to me, like, right now, is that, like, when I was a bit younger, I trained a lot more. You know, maybe I might spend like 3-4 hours a day training, double training sessions, stuff like that. But, like, nowadays, you know, I don't have the capacity to move as much, and I don't really want to. So I think it's important to find things that are really high bang for your buck, that are gonna have, like, a lot of carryover into the activity that you want to do, right? Usually it's, like, more general motor patterns, more athletic motor patterns.
You could almost say basic too.
Basics. Yeah. What's up, Shy? But yeah, like, you shouldn't have to spend, like, 3 hours a day, 5-6 days a week training for your sport. Like, you may be able to get a lot better with 3 sessions a week that are 45 minutes, you know?
Unless training is your sport. And I have met those people who that's just what they like to do. And you know what? Good for them. But I would say for most people, like, training isn't your life. Like, you have multiple areas in your life that you like want to spend resources, energy, and time, right? Not just your physical body, but also like your relationships, your inner space, you know, like, so if you're spending all of your resources on training, then oftentimes like those get put on the back burner. And I think that most people that live a quite fulfilling life have some sort of balance between all of those.
Philosophical question.
Hit me.
How many mountains do you have to climb before you can call yourself a mountain man?
And your beard is long enough?
Yeah. You got a long way to go, buddy.
If you have to ask, you definitely haven't done enough.
That brings us into like the other side of, you know, so what we talk about is ambition and surrender, and it doesn't just apply to training, obviously. But I think the big ones are your relationships, your career / your passions, and then your physical health. Yeah.
All right. I saved it. I sacrificed the hand.
Got it on camera.
Oh.
We lost the little on the rope. That's alright though. Still got most of it in there.
I think if you're like finding that balance in those 3 realms, then, you know, you're gonna be probably more fulfilled than if, like you said, you're putting all your resources into training, or you're not training at all and you're putting all your resources in just your relationships with people.
Is it really hot?
Funny as I didn't think twice about it.
And so I've been thinking about it more lately for myself, is like more of just this like whole picture, sort of what you were describing. It's like if I miss a training session because I'm doing this, it's like great, you know. like that's not something that is like tough for me or anything, you know, where maybe it would have been in the past. Yeah, and just as well, like thinking about it as, you know, sometimes you might need something to fulfill one of those 3 slots, and like maybe that's just going on a walk outside, or spending time with a friend, maybe even having a beer with a friend, you know, thinking about the whole being.
Yeah, and I think that's important, because sometimes I think in the space that like we work in, where we're always chasing like optimization.
You gotta do an obligatory handstand.
That's kind of become like its own world. Biohacking, right? Certain things get labeled good or bad. Like having a beer is bad for you. But if it does actually feed a relationship, then it could be good, right? And so like that thinking of everything kind of as those dualities doesn't really help. I think that's important to keep in mind, right? Because like training is good, and it also can be bad. It can also tip the other way and become too much. Balance. I just explained balance.
It actually is quite funny because we've been exploring these concepts for the last few years of trying to find better balance in all shapes of life. And then as of the last probably 3 months, I've been obsessed with physical balance, like just training balance. And it's kind of funny how like that, for me, I'm finding that balance actually is like, it's almost like a master key. It's like this foundation that we have to like build the strength on and build the mobility on. We have to be stable first. And I think that like what we're talking about right now is like if you set the balance in your training and your relationships and your career, then you're like setting yourself up to really like enjoy life and get the most out of it, I think.
You could put this in the video. Thumbnail footage. Squeeze it out.
But relax the face.
Love crack going back. I love that.
Let's go.
Just like how physical balance is never like a static thing,
Right.
it's always moving. You'll never quite have it.
Slackline.
Slackline. Yeah, it's a moving target, right? So you'll never quite pin it down. The second you think you've got this whole balance thing figured out, it'll probably need to shift and move again.
Mm-hmm.
And so being open to that idea is the hardest thing for some people, because like we think we've found something that works, and so we want to stake down and say like this is what works for me. And it's always a yes, and yes, it works right now, and you'll probably need some new strategy soon.
Yeah. That's a really good way to put it.
I believe what we're trying to describe is called the Tao. I believe the first line of the Tao Te Ching is the Tao that can be named is not the eternal Tao. Basically, you can't talk about it. You can try, and you're never gonna hit it.
That's so that, I don't know why when you said that, it made me think like one of the things that I want to be like really clear on this little project we have going with this podcast is to like not be like necessarily preaching these things, but like showing that like this is stuff we're working on. So like I really like sharing my challenges. And like yesterday, it was a Sunday, and I was like feeling pretty tired. And I was like, you know what? I should just chill today. And as I was chilling throughout the day, which I was doing, we just moved into a house, so I was doing like a lot of organization and stuff like that. But it kept creeping in my mind. So you should just go out and do the rope for, 15 minutes. Or, I just got this new kettlebell. I should just go play with it for a little bit.
Talking time.
Go for a run.
Let's go.
I just like was witnessing myself having this battle between like, no, you need to go do a little bit of movement today. Like I don't take days off, right? But then like my body just actually being pretty fatigued and wanting to kind of just like chill out and like lay on the couch a little bit. And I'm sure we all go through that to an extent, right? But I constantly have that going on. And sometimes I need to go do the movement, and sometimes I need to silence that and be like, you trying 6 days this week, like just chill the fuck out.
I think just to tag along what you were saying at first, like, yeah, we're all just kind of trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
For ourselves. Sometimes like we get lost in thinking that like some people have it figured out, and like you want to be like that person or whatever. And really,
well, not to cut you off, I want you to finish, but I think that the influencer culture also creates that. Like you see people and then you're like, oh, they're like, I need to be like them.
yeah.
And it's like, I hate that. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
When you don't see their struggles,
Exactly.
it's pretty clear that like with greatness comes a lot of like challenges too. You go to the very top, like you look at Michael Jordan. It's like, man, I'd really like to be as good as Michael Jordan at basketball, but would you want the challenges that he had in his life, or he still has in his life? Not sure.
So anyway, sorry to cut you off. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, like I think there are very influential people who are very intelligent, and like do have like are further along, I guess you could say. And like it's nice to listen to those voices, but I think ultimately it's up to us. Like it's up to you and to put the pieces together in your own life. Yeah, how things are evolving for you in your reality. And like what worked for someone else like might not work for you.
Yeah.
Like living a completely different life. And just remember that. And I think the biggest thing is like, learn from your own experience. Do something, get the feedback, and get that learning and lesson and go forward.
Yeah, to your point, Mitch, it is easy to get sucked into what somebody is, like a teacher online or somebody who has some influence, and really just like want to replicate like their life and do whatever their training is and act how they act and do all the lifestyle stuff. But you know, that could be like not relevant to your life, basically. And like whenever I talk to people and coach people, like I'm like, hey, like this could be something nice for you to explore or not, right? It's up to you to try it on. I've personally got like really influenced and sucked into certain like coaches in my past, and you know, in some points it's been really valuable, and it's helped me along the way. But also like I can see like sometimes I was just trying to be like this person or trying to maybe impress this person, and you know, you gotta reel it in and just like be yourself in the end.
There may be value in exploring some things to the extreme, though.
Yeah.
To know what that limit is for yourself, so that you kind of can create some boundaries around it, right? So I don't think it's always a bad thing to tip the scale a little too far. But I kind of want to finish up here with maybe some ideas for ways that people listening could help strike some balance in their lives, just in areas like training or otherwise.
We're at like 44 degrees, something around there.
Not too cold, but quite cold. One that I think is really valuable is if you are training regularly, I think that not having specific days for training, so like Monday is chest day, Tuesday is tricep day, right? Whatever that means for you, but not doing things on specific days of the week, but just saying like, here's the workouts that I'm going to do, because that gives you space to say on a Monday, if your friends want to do something fun, you can go out and do it and not feel like you missed a workout. You're just going to do it tomorrow. Right? Yeah. That's one simple way you can.
Yeah, I think like another way to think of that is just like you're gonna have 2 to 3 capacity days a week, which are just days that you work on training, getting stronger, getting more flexible, and then another 2 to 3 days which are exploration days. Whatever you're interested in, sport, activity, get yourself a slack line, balance on a stability ball, do the ropes. Those are all things that I'm into lately.
Ski, snowboard,
Play basketball.
Oh, what's that one game that everybody plays? Spike ball, stuff like that.
Yeah,
Oh,
pickleball.
Go to the park and have fun.
Basketball.
Disc golf.
No, that's not a ball.
Tennis ball.
I've been learning guitar lately, and like it's really the first time in my life that I've had an activity that I'm interested in that doesn't have to do with movement. And it's been really nice, really nice thing to add to the skills that I'm learning, as like something that hits one of those other categories we talked about earlier, but still like getting better at something, you know. It's been great.
Fine motor pattern.
It's movement.
Well, no, it is, but it's not fatigue on your system, so it still engages you.
It's more
Yeah.
more here.
Right.
It's nice, yeah, it's stimulating and engaging.
Yeah, I think there's really something powerful to finding activities that could cross like multiple kind of ways that you get fulfilled, like fill your cup. So I mean, I think you brought up going for a walk earlier. I think like that's like healthy. It also gives you like time to reflect, and it can be done with friends, right? So like, simple activities, or going to the park and doing, playing with friends. So just finding ways that you can get the most bang for your buck is really nice. And also, I really do think like going for walks by yourself, having that reflection time, is also another way that you can reflect on how you're doing with balance in your life, right? So building in reflection time in your life is quite important.
Yeah. And on that note, I'd invite anybody listening, watching, to take it to paper, journal out what you're having trouble with, finding a balance with. And, for some people, maybe like you actually can't just stick to a nice training plan. So set some goals for yourself. That's where goals come in really handy. And like we talked on the last podcast about challenges, things like this where you're just like, okay, I'm going to set some concrete stuff down, and I'm going to get really motivated to do it.
You got to be clear on what your intentions are.
That's right. And write
You
it
don't
down.
gotta do nothing.
All right, I think that's it.
It's just advice. You can do whatever the fuck you want to do. I'll just join the shout out.
Throwback. They still make videos.
Do they?
I think so.
Wow.
Oh, I'm sure.
Anyways, thanks for listening. Thanks for joining us. Leave a comment below where you could strike more balance in your life.
If you want to hear a podcast about physical balance, comment that below too. All right, I'm done.
Peace.
Oh, my butt.
Let's get off this mountain.
Yeah.
Oh. Nice.
Charlie, you really balance your play and leisure, huh?